What's up, everybody? This is Ron Sparkman here from Stardom, and today we have an amazing guest. This is an interview I've really been excited about for a long time because one of the biggest questions and concerns that we get in the space industry is about why is space important to the average person? You know, why are we spending all this money? And this is Rebecca Williams from the Space Foundation, and she's going to be filling in some of those blanks for us on why space is so important to the average everyday person like you and me. So, Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ron.
It's good to have you. I like the space technology behind you. That lets everybody kind of see a little bit of what it is that you do. And we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But first off, how were you kind of introduced to the world of space and science?
You know, I was not really a space enthusiast or space geek to say, but when I found out about the Space Foundation, I submitted an application, and a month later I was hired.
That's awesome. And how did you end up? So I know you didn't start in the area you're at now. How did they? What skills did you kind of show them that allowed them to say, "Hey, listen, this is the perfect person for space awareness and what it is you do now"?
Originally, I started out as administrative, so I was helping the sales team. And the more that I learned about the space awareness program, the more interested I got, and they opened a position up and I applied for it, and they said, your research skills are great. We've seen that in the last couple of years, and we just think you would be great in this position. It's an awesome job. It's so interesting to do.
You get to meet some pretty cool people, and we're going to get to that in a minute. And I was lucky last year. You drug me around, let me take pictures, and I got to meet some pretty amazing people myself. So, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, you're kind of walking around in the Space Foundation Discovery Center, and it's an amazing organization, and not everybody knows exactly what it is. A lot of people have heard of Space Symposium, but they haven't actually been to the Discovery Center or really know exactly what Space Foundation is. So can you tell us a bit about the organization and exactly what it does?
Sure. So the Space Foundation was founded in 1983 as an organization just for bringing the global world together in one place here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. 5 years ago, we moved into this building off of Arrows West Drive, and they opened a Discovery Center, and we have some model of space products, or like we have a rocket booster. We have some models of some things. We got Huygens probe here. We have the Scott Carpenter water.
The new exhibit. Yeah, that's
awesome. We have just a lot of things, and we've got great partners that have given us a significant amount of money to make it even greater. We have the Northrop Grumman Science Center that features science on a sphere.
My favorite thing.
Yeah, we've had meteorologists come in and do the weather report off of the science on a sphere. But the most thing that it's used for is we've got a great education team that does programming on it. They do everything from a tour of the planets to weather and fish and birds migrating and sharks migration, and it's just a very, very cool tool that the education team uses to teach the community about STEM education.
And I agree. It's probably my favorite thing. I just have one of my friends who we've interviewed before. Uliana brought her entire class for an intro to global climate change class. Brought them over, and part of the education team at Space Foundation took them through some really cool things. Showed them how how black carbon works and all of it on the sphere, and kind of brought it to life a little bit more. And I think that's what's so amazing. We get to tell so many things and share so much through that tool. And it's really cool. If you guys have never seen it, you got to be there. If you've been there before but you haven't been there recently, like she just mentioned, the mission to Europa, that's a new exhibit that just opened up. There's always new stuff coming in every year. So if you were there at last Space Symposium, which we'll get to what that is in a minute, then you got to make sure to come this year because there's so many cool things that are out there now. So your work revolves around a few different projects for the organization. So let's start out with what is the Space Awareness Program that you head?
The Space Awareness Program recognizes organizations and individuals who have taken space or technology originally developed for space or space exploration, and they have developed it into a product or service that is of benefit to us here on Earth. I have several favorites. We've got Tempur-Pedic, and the space application of that is called viscoelastic foam. And we've got products that keep your electronics not too hot, not too cold, your body not too hot, not too cold. We've got products that keep your house filtrated, especially great for people who have asthma and allergies. That's just a few of the hundreds of technologies that have come from space agencies that have made life on Earth much more pleasurable for us, much more healthier for us here on Earth.
And I actually have one of the air scrubbers that you talked about from a couple years ago. We were giving some stuff away at Space Symposium, and I still use that thing. It's still hooked up in the corner right now. And as somebody who has allergies, as some people may be able to tell, I'm a little stuffier than normal. It's sort of spring here. It was spring yesterday, and today I think it's snowing. But that's just kind of generally the way it is in Colorado. You just never know. But that's one of the really cool things about the organization is that not everybody knows, and there's actually different facets of what it is you do with We'll get to the space certification part of it in a minute, but there's not just the products that you have, but there are also the technologies that you have, which I think are amazing. So they can see the tech in their everyday lives, and they may, most people know GPS, their internet service, things like that, but you get to see some of the world-changing technologies that come through the program. So what are some of your favorite projects that have come across your desk over the years?
Well, I mentioned the filtration system. Just recently, we have recognized a company that's based out in Sarasota, Florida. They are working with NASA, growing veggies in space, and that's the name of their project, Veggies in Space. They're working with the Kennedy Space Center, and we all know that astronaut Scott Kelly, he ate lettuce in space, and that the product that was used to grow, to nourish the vegetables is space technology. It was developed for that program.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize is that you get these technologies that if you can grow something in microgravity in space, or you can grow it in Martian regolith, then you can grow it pretty much in any horrible spot on Earth. And a lot of people don't really get that, and I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves, and one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you is that one of the main questions that we get at Stardom, I Love Mars, and all the different platforms that I work with is that people are always saying, why are we wasting money on space? Because so many people don't realize how much money is spent here on, how much, if not all of that money is spent here on Earth. So can you tell us a little bit about how the space technology brings value to the average person and the economy?
A lot of the dollars that we have spent on space exploration have been spent doing, developing the technologies here on Earth to get us to the moon, to explore other galaxies, to take us to Mars one day and set up a colony there. So people who don't understand, they just see the billion, the dollars, the zeros behind the number. They don't realize that all of this will eventually come to us back to Earth in healthcare and again, making our lives pleasurable and comfortable.
And I don't think so many people here, they spent $19 billion, they spent $16 billion, they spent $20 billion on NASA, and they think that it's this ton of money, and they don't realize that it's around 1% of the national budget. And a lot of people don't really know that. They think that it might be maybe 5 cents, 10 cents. I think it's barely a penny on the dollar. I don't even think it's that. I think that's actually an organization that's trying to get a penny on the dollar. It's like half a penny. And most people don't understand how little is spent, and then also how much comes back to the economy. It can be anywhere between $7 to $14. And a lot of the things that summer's coming and everybody loves their polarized sunglasses, and that's a space technology that wouldn't be around if it wasn't for, you know, astronauts having to deal with the brightness that is the sun in space. You know, most of us haven't got to see that yet, and I certainly want to, but it's something that a lot of people just don't think about. Why would that be space technology? And then you think about what it's like to spacewalk and to look at the sun without the lens of the atmosphere of the Earth, and all of a sudden it kind of puts it a little bit, no pun intended, puts it in perspective a little bit. So right. I think that's always intriguing. So we've talked a little bit about the products that are a part of the Space Awareness Program, which is particularly called the Space Certification Program. So can you tell us about the program, what it is, and then maybe highlight for us a little bit the different categories that are involved with the Space Certification Program?
Okay. The certification program is a licensing program, and it's used as a marketing tool to be able to tell the story of your product and the space connection to it. Mm-hmm. So the Space Foundation does, there's 3 categories. There's the technology category, which is our largest category, mm-hmm. and the most stringent to be able to be a partner in. Mm-hmm. We have the educational category, which again, not as stringent, but it's got to be proven. And then we have the imagination category. So the technology category is the most stringent to become partners with. Mm-hmm. You have to show proof that the technology that you want to be recognized has been developed for space exploration. Now, mm-hmm. a lot of our companies, they say, well, how do I do that? A lot of the products are tested by universities that are that have partnered with space agencies like NASA or DLR, mm-hmm. ESA, JAXA. Mm-hmm. So these products are proven technologies originally developed for space exploration.
That's amazing. And one of my favorite ones, we're going to get to that right now, is so we talk about the Space Foundation does the Space Symposium every year. So all right, let me back up just a little bit. So Space Symposium is one of the biggest, if not, I would say arguably the biggest space event in the industry. It holds a special place in my heart, so I might be a little biased. So before we get to the Hall of Fame dinner, where you guys do some really amazing things to showcase some incredible technologies that are just on an amazing scale. Can you tell us a little bit about what the Space Symposium is and why it's so important internationally?
The Space Symposium is the premier global event. Mm-hmm. It brings space agencies, commercial space companies, private space companies, aerospace companies, all together in one place. Mm-hmm. This year is our record-breaking year. We have over 200 exhibitors that are coming, little companies starting out, and then we've got what we call the big boys, mm-hmm. Our Boeing and Lockheed and Northrop Grumman, mm-hmm. and many of the ones that are our corporate partners. They will all be there, and it just gives these companies a chance to collaborate, talk about what they can do and how they can help one another to get us out of this atmosphere into the galaxy.
And so for people that weren't at last year's, there's always surprises, and I've already heard some rumors of some things coming up this year. We're not going to ruin it for you, but last year, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, Amazon, actually shipped out the rocket that they had launched and landed, I think it was 7 times, and erected it out front of the Broadmoor, and then also brought the craft that's going to be the commercial space tourism craft, let everybody get in it, and he just showed up in jeans and a Blue Origin shirt and decided to do it random. Right, so that's the kind of things that happened at this. We're not talking about something on a small scale. Probably my favorite panels of the week are always, they get nearly the head of every major space organization, governmental wise, and also on the private side. They're 2 separate panels, and they all get on stage and they talk together and talk about what they're up to. And last year was very Mars focused. Actually, the last couple of years have been. So somebody that runs a very popular Mars page, I was excited about that. So there's always surprises. You never know who's going to show up. You get a list of speakers that are on the Space Symposium website, but that is nowhere even close to the people that are going to be there.
No.
You can't imagine what to expect. I don't know how many times I've just walked by Buzz Aldrin, I'm like, there's one of the first 2 men on the moon. That's awesome, and then off he goes. There's a crowd of people behind him just, whispering, that's Buzz Aldrin. And it's like that all week long. And I think that's one of the reasons it's so amazing. And so, Space Symposium culminates in the big Thursday evening event that I believe is, again, this year sponsored by SpaceX, right?
It is.
SpaceX every year, at least since I've been coming, sponsors the Hall of Fame dinner, which is another, again, your baby. So can you tell us a bit about what goes into putting together an event that's such a big deal, because everybody is in that room. That room is packed with every single person from every space agency. And I love it because Gwen Shotwell spoke last year, and that just made me so happy because I love her. So can you tell us?
Guess what? Gwen is coming again this year.
I didn't see that's what's awesome. So I can't imagine that nobody knows that's listening to this, but Gwen Shotwell is Elon Musk, that's his partner in everything that we do and see in SpaceX. She's just an incredible woman in STEM. There's nobody more that I can really say that I look up to when it comes to the rocketry side of things. She's always doing some really big things, and she's an incredible speaker and also incredibly kind. I've never seen her for being so important. You just wouldn't think about the way that she treats people, but that's also a big thing in the space industry that a lot of people don't get, is just how kind and down to earth almost everybody is. Charles Bolden was the director of NASA and was excited to hear about me going to college to be an astronomer. Just these people are so incredible, and it's just one of those things. So I kind of get off on that a little bit. Sorry, but I digress. Like, I just love what this brings to. What it brings to the world, really, just how kind everybody is. But this dinner is huge, and you do it every year. So can you tell us about what makes it such a big deal, and then how you put it all together? Because I know it is hectic. I've seen you work on it.
Well, to start with, we accept nominations from companies and space agencies across the world. They will submit nominations. That is reviewed, and we review them under 5 criteria. One being the societal benefit, which is, is it a benefit to us on Earth? That, I think, that is the most crucial, other than it truly being a space technology. So we start with the nominations. And then after the review and the vetting process, then we choose a panel of judges. We've had judges from that are heads of space agencies, heads of aerospace companies. We've had educators from universities, deans from universities, past Space Foundation board members. So we get an eclectic group of judges, so that they can look at the technology in a different light, by different walks of life.
And one of my favorite ones, and I'll let you kind of give some details on it. This was really cool. Was somebody used satellites to be able to find water in a landlocked area? I believe was one of them from last year or 2 years ago. Can you tell us about that? Because that one blew my mind. That's just we think about it, but we're talking about something that is truly life altering. Yeah, for people that have suffered for a long time. There's no other way that you find water in a landlocked area if it's not for the space technology. So, I mean, they're truly life-changing.
Yes. We received this nomination, and it was from a space agency. And it was this man, Dr. Alain Gachet. He was working for a company called Radar Technologies International. And he discovered an oil leak or a water leak in a line that was seeping into an oil line. And so he figured out that he can overlay mapping that is available to the public.
Mhm.
Geological mapping, pictures taken from the International Space Station,
Mhm.
and other satellites, and he would overlay this data, and he could find aquifers in landlocked areas. And he has been doing work in Kenya and actually all over Africa and in the Sudan. And he's been doing things in Iraq and Iran,
Yeah.
helping people that would otherwise consider water a precious commodity. And
Mhm.
he has been able to bring water to the women and the children and the tribes of these places that would otherwise have to walk miles daily for water.
And I mean, again, you're talking about something that this isn't a small thing. I mean, it's people with back problems are introduced to a Tempur-Pedic bed, and it gives them a life-changing technology that's right in their room. But when you think about how many people have been touched by something that he was just, that's citizen science in a sense. I mean, he's a doctor, of course, so he's got a background in science, but he was able to utilize something in a way that people weren't thinking to change the lives of people that he probably would have never met or would have never known, and most of them he probably won't forever. That's such a massive thing, and I think that's incredible. And every year there's so many of these people that are on stage, and some incredible people also show up to the event and host the event. So here's a bit of the chance to name drop and get everybody excited for it. I'm always excited to hear who's going to be there. So can you tell us a bit about some of the amazing hosts that you've had over the years and the guests who have been in attendance for this prestigious event?
Well, we have had a lot of producers that have hosted the event or been special guest speakers. We've had some celebrities. We've had some astrophysicists. To name, Dr. Tyson has been a guest speaker. Leonard Nimoy was a guest speaker one time. We've had Sigourney Weaver was with us one year. And then, of course, P.J. O'Rourke, the political satirist. He's often one of our speakers.
He was great. He was there last year. It was him, and I forgot who was with him, but they were doing
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, indeed, Thomas Jefferson. So they had it was a really great setup where they were having a conversation, and it's Thomas Jefferson, and Thomas is sort of talking in the way that he would have a long time ago, but also kind of saying some things about what's going on today. And it's all in good fun. I mean, here's the one thing that I love about the space industry is that we come from all political backgrounds, all creeds, races, and groups. And it's one of the few places where you'll see people just come together and talk, and it's barely even an issue. It's something that everybody can kind of agree on, mostly. There's a few people that are, why are we spending that money, which we talked about earlier, but it's something that you see that even somebody that might be a liberal might have the excitement of going to Mars, and you're going to see the same thing with somebody of conservative sensibilities of let's go do that. Let's go be on the forefront of human exploration and get out there. And I think that's what is so awesome about the space industry, that everybody is welcome, everybody's ideas are heard, and I think it's something that we can utilize elsewhere to kind of get these sensibilities that we get from these people, and I think that's incredible. And but kind of to finish up a little bit, so what requirements does it take to be nominated for an award like the Space Tech Hall of Fame? So somebody will nominate them, but then when they sit down to really look through it and say, how do you go from 10 of these technologies of like, oh, well, this one saved this many people's lives, and this one, made us understand the atmosphere here, and that's going to help us change. Like, how do they really break that down and pick?
Well, it's not really. Oh, it is, and I'm glad I'm not one of those judges. I just accept the nomination and say yes. Here, pass it on. But it's not always about saving lives. It's about saving our environment.
Agreed.
Or making things better for us. Like last year, we inducted the Florican stage nutrient release fertilizer. that they're using on the ISS, like I mentioned earlier.
Which is big for me. I work with a space farming group, and again, like we're talking about that is some really amazing technology. Like if you want to take a second, please tell everybody about that, because that one blew my mind. I sat down and talked to these guys for about an hour and a half afterwards because I was so excited about it.
Well, it's a polymer coating, and Ed Rosenthal originally developed because he was finding that farmers in waterlogged, I don't know if that's what you would call it, but land that's mostly surrounded by water, that they were polluting the water with the fertilizer because they were fertilizing too often. They were having problems mixing the fertilizer with product and things. But so he thought there's got to be a better way. We don't need to fertilize as often. Let's be careful of our sea life, not just the manatees and the fish, but also the birds that inhabit the water. So he developed this tri-polymer coating so that the fertilizer is spread and it releases the nutrients in stages, and the fertilizer, the land does not have to be fertilized for 90, 120, 180, up to 180 days with the specialized fertilizer.
So we just talked about some of the people that have been there before, and this year you have a really amazing guest. She's one of my favorites. She's from West Virginia, like I am. She's also an amazing science communicator. She has her own TV show. She's a really big deal, and I follow her on all social media and stuff. And I'm so glad that she's coming this year. So tell us who's going to be the special guest speaker this year.
So Emily Calandretti.
It's an awesome last name, but I had I did an interview with her and I had to make sure I said it right. It's like, I can do this.
Yes, Emily is going to be with us. Her bubbly personality, I can't wait to meet her in person. And she is going to be our guest speaker. And she is the host of the Netflix Bill Nye Saves the World. Yeah, so, and speaking of Bill Nye, he's usually around Space Symposium too.
And that's, well, when I got to go to the Planetary Society a little bit this past year, and while I was there, somebody said that Bill might be there. We don't know. Nobody's for sure, but you never know what he's the one that's, that's doing everything that he's doing. He's got a TV show and he's got all this stuff out, but it's always a big surprise, and Bill's always doing selfies with people, and it's amazing. And Emily's incredible. Like you said, she's a host on Bill's Netflix series. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a little bit of a mixture for kids and adults. He's kind of aiming a little bit towards, educating people on these kind of controversial topics. He's not as he's kind of been taking some bullets the last few years because he's standing up for all the science that he really believes in. And it's a really great show that's educating people on the things that maybe we don't understand about the changing climate and evolution and all these things. It's really an incredible show. And Emily's also got her own TV show on Fox called Exploration Station, Exploration Outer Space. And it's incredible. It's on every Saturday morning. They do a student astronaut contest every year. There's always some amazing things that are involved. So make sure you check out everything that Emily's up to. Can't wait to see her this year. I haven't met her in person yet either, so I'm gonna fanboy out a little bit. So hopefully I'm not too bad. But yeah, we can't wait for that. It's incredible, and so many people can be involved in what you're up to. So can you tell us, to wrap up a little bit, where people can find out more about you and what it is you do with the Space Awareness Program, with Space Certification, online, the websites and social media, all that fun stuff?
Yeah. Well, you can go to our Space Foundation website at www.spacefoundation.org and click on the What We Do tab and find the Space Certification Program and the Space Technology Hall of Fame. This year will be number 78 and 79 technologies that have been inducted into the Space Technology Hall of Fame. This is our 31st year of the Hall of Fame. It's just gets more and more exciting every year.
And I love being involved with it. And so everybody knows, I will actually be running around with Rebecca a little bit. We are, Stardom is also part of the space certification program. So I'm going to be taking pictures and sharing stuff on Facebook stories across all of our platforms. So you never know who's going to pop up. We did it last year, and Ron Sega was there, and Bob Cabana was there, and everybody from NASA was there. Tons of astronauts. So it was really amazing. So we can't wait to share that with you guys. So please follow them on Space Foundation, at Space Foundation, all over social media. You can find out some amazing things that's going on. And Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with everybody what it is that you do, and kind of highlighting something that a whole lot of people, needed a little better education on.
Yeah. And, a lot of our certification partners are Hall of Fame inductees, and they're coming out again this year as well. And one thing you mentioned, the sunglasses.
Yeah.
And so I want to highlight that that's not just in our sunglasses, but our welders. It protects their eyes.
Oh, that makes a good point. I don't think I actually knew that, but
yeah.
I'm from West Virginia. I know a lot of people throughout West Virginia and Pennsylvania that are steel workers and welders, and that's what they do for a living. One of my best friends has been doing it for the majority of his adult life. We met in the club business, and now he's doing that. But that totally makes sense that would be something that you would utilize, and it really is incredible. Go on the website and check it out. There's so much to see there, and you're going to be able to jump around and see all these technologies from big to small. Everything from books that are inspiring people to, like you can see in the background behind her, there's an entire case at the Space Foundation. If you go to the Discovery Center, you can go in there and you see it. Like, everybody loves the astronaut ice cream. That's some of their favorites. So again, Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on today and showing us all these amazing things that are involved in what it is that you do.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, guys, everybody, make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next episode.